Hey folks, Sivak here. Today I'm going to be playing my own game, Battle Kid Fortress of Peril, released February 22nd, 2010. Think of this as a creator's commentary, if you will. I'm just going to be playing and talking as I go, so there may be some pauses here and there if I feel the need to explain anything. So with that said, let's start the game. So here we go with our intro cutscene. Our three antagonists who don't really play much of a role at all in this game, as I wrote the story way late, but they are more prominent in Battle Kid 2. And here we're looking at a old draft of the Super Mech. It was originally going to be something that faced the screen kind of like Sigma and Mega Man X1, but that idea got scrapped. And there we go. Playing version 1.1, fixing that annoying bug. And we're going to make this playthrough a lot more interesting. So here we go with our story to the game. Dish Corp is named after a guy I know from IRC. His handle is, of course, Dish, and he's given me a lot of programming pointers in the past and present sometimes. And here we go with our two protagonists, Dr. Tina Byers. Tina is a reference to Final Fantasy VI, which is what Terra's name is in that version. And then Byers is the last name of a character from the X-Files, one of the Lone Gunmen, one of my favorite shows. And we also saw the fortress a little bit ago. The name Illicob is a reference to Dragonlance, much like my name, Sivak. It's Bacali spelled backwards with an apostrophe stuck in there. Bacali are a race of evil lizardmen, so kind of seemed fitting for an evil race to be the fortress's name. And the name Timmy, our hero, that's a play on Tiny Tim from A Christmas Carol. I guess you could say I envisioned a weak kid, and so there we go. No offense to anyone out there named Tim. So here we go, just explaining the game. I am going to just let this play out. One thing that was fun about some of these cutscenes is that I, for the easy difficulty, had to make everything where the suit is seen be pink instead of that green color. It wasn't too hard to do to make variations, though. And there he is, all suited up, ready to go. I had considered making the ship be pink if you chose easy, but I thought, nah, it's just easier this way. So, we're gonna start pretty soon here. So there we go, landing the ship. I remember the ship landing sequence taking like an hour just to get it to look right. It wasn't hard to do, just, wanted the look of it. So, drop down here. First item, coordinate display. Instead of doing a map, I came up with that. Only because the map was just so complicated. I couldn't think of a good way to implement any kind of map. And look at the terminal real quick here. The Battle Kid OS up there, the version number actually is October 13th, 2008, which is the date that I had a more or less functional game engine done. So, quite a while ago. And of course, just starting the game, I remember, took a while. For the longest time, it was just the Waterfall Temple, and I think I had like a draft of the Hall of the Colormancers. But yeah, eventually we just came up with this outside rocky area, and there you go. Of course, slimes, which only appear in 2 screens of the whole game. Oh, 3 if you count the bonus area. And the snail, an enemy that got some laughs from some people. It was originally an idea that was rejected only because I really didn't like the sprite that was submitted to me. But then someone redrew it, and I like that new sprite, so there you go. So we're gonna just let him come to me. Remember, these tree graphics were actually done by someone, in the credits he calls himself Isildur. That was the only thing he drew for the game, and I just needed trees, and he came through for me at the beginning, so there you go. And then my graphics person named Dave He took over for the majority of everything else. I did draw some stuff here and there, but it was mostly him. Now this room here, I don't like this room only because of this one gap-wide jump. It's obviously doable as I, just did it, but still, if I were to redo it, it would have definitely been too wide. Remember I think in one of the demo builds there used to be a spike right there. Remember people would clip themselves on that one spike, thought it was kind of funny, but I removed it since it wasn't really adding to any of the difficulty of the game. And this here, I don't know, I guess I was thinking one point that you were going to drop down there for some reason, but never come into play. And you can outrun those shots if you're fast, but I'm playing it safe because it's a very hard run. You can't die more than 20 times. And this here, these never even came into play, this blocked off entrance to the fortress. So coming up here I think is the room that many people think is the hardest of the first area. It's all about timing. I think the balls used to move faster in this room too, in the old builds. Alright, the good old lemon droppers. We'll say in Battle Kid 2 there are no fruits going to be coming back. No lemons, no limes, no apples or cherries or anything like that. It's all going to be a little more practical. And here we go. Lotus Guardian, first boss. Used to be a little bit harder. I think the thorns used to come out at a much faster rate, but I scaled that down. I think he also used to take 10 more shots too. I think it was 55 hit points instead of 45. That was one thing I remember towards the end of the game, just scaling a lot of the boss's hit points down by like 10 to 20%. And there we go. And always save your game. Whenever you accomplish anything, save your game. And here we go, inside the fortress itself. Of course, shotgun drone up there. There's quite a lot of enemies in this game that have just one eye. Like the shotgun drone, the eye guy, the eye fly, later there's those squids. I don't know why that is either. I guess it's just the way people felt like drawing them, like everything has one eye. This room's a little tricky, but not too bad. And our first item, high jump, which is not returning in Battle Kid 2, you just jump the height. Because yeah, he just jumped way too low, and I wanted to get him jumping that extra height as soon as possible, so that's why it's the first item. And good old stalker drones. And of course we work our way up. I did have to taunt the players with this, I don't know, just thought it would be kind of funny. It's just that little thing out of reach that you come across much later in the game. These flame cannons. It's one of the things I kind of hated about the map I guess the map format, you'd call it, of the game, where it only allows for 3 enemies in a room, with the exception of the disappearing blocks, because I had to make a custom thing for that. Would have liked to have had more of these in some of the rooms, but oh well. 3 works. Oops. It's probably the toughest room of the fortress here. Just gotta wait just a little bit. The other thing about the fortress, I remember the brick graphics used to look different, so they didn't look quite as good, and then towards the end I had Dave redraw them, and I think they look way better in the final version. I think in the demo version you could still see the old design. So we're ascending up to the sky. Wanted to have it kind of look like a tower here, so you can see the sky outside. Yeah, always. One thing about the teleporters too is all you have to do is explore the room. You don't have to actually walk up and touch it, as I've seen some people do in their playthroughs of the game. And here we go with our sky base. I think the setting of this looks kind of like a mix between Airman and Crashman, with the puffy clouds and then like the gold. And later on you go up into the stars, just like in Crashman's stage. Remember those fans? It was kind of annoying to get Timmy to move at a different move speed, only because of the way the game is coded. It's like he's always expected to move at a speed of either 0 or 2, so with the fans I had to make a really special exception to keep him from going in the walls and such. So here's a little shortcut here. Of course, in Battle Kid 2, when I finally learned a lot more about game engine mechanics, you can move at all sorts of speeds without any problems. And here we go. Jump to the left, not to the right. Here's a little speedrun tip if you're speedrunning. There you go. There's a couple of those I remember. If I think of them when I get to the rooms, I'll show it to you. Some rooms where you can just literally run past everything because it's just the way it's timed. I remember, oh god, this room. I remember it was from Screw Attacks. They did this long playthrough, like an overnighter. And they kept jumping on the platform with the Razor drone there, and they kept dying when you could just stay on the left and get the eye guy from up top. Then when they finally did beat the room, they got to the save point and were all celebrating and everything. It was just so funny to see that little video they did of that. And of course here, me writing the word hi in the spikes. I don't know why I did it. I guess I was just bored. Our spikes are very colorful in this house area, and I died. I was hoping to get farther before the first death. Oh well. The absolute farthest that I ever have gone is in the Subterranean Sea Section 1. I'll mention the room when I get to it. Yeah, and then I just did something so stupid I couldn't believe it, because the room wasn't even a hard room. There we go. One thing, the disappearing blocks change color every single room here to kind of go with the spikes, the flashy spikes things. And this last room, I think I saw someone do a playthrough where he made the jump from the lower part, which I didn't even think was possible. I guess if you're literally in the right spot, you can do it, but whatever. Here we go, Boss 2, Owlbots. I'm going to show you a very cheap way to beat this guy, because someone actually found an exploit. Because the turret, it's targeting you, and it's slightly off-center. I didn't even catch that when I was first doing the game, so if you just stand here, it'll never go to the right. Yeah, someone had just PM'd me about that. I'm like, oh wow, look at that. And I did leave it in for Battle Kit, or for version 1.1. I mean, I considered fixing it, but I'm like, nah, that's just an exploit for people. So there we go, key 1. And I will say this, I'm not going to run the Gauntlet of Evil, which I know, you know, there's no spoilers. This has been on so many other people's video. You just move through the invisible wall there. But I will talk about what I was trying to go for the hints of it. If you look closely in the left column, the background pattern is on backwards, and what I was trying to go for with the hints was that, you know, this room was a pale green color, and that's where I came up with the irregular green place, as it calls it in the terminal. So, I mean, it's kind of a lame hint, but people have obviously found it, so, you know, either by accident or whatever. So I guess since it's been found, it isn't really that much of a big deal. So this here. And back down to the fortress. One thing about the fortress itself, there's no actual boss. It's the only one of the 7 areas of the game that does not have a boss. But 6 is a good number. Of course, here are immortal jellies, as they're called. In the source code, they're actually called Blobby. Actually, a lot of the enemies in the source code have much different names than their official names. Simply because I didn't come up with names for them until a lot later. Oh wow, I'm doing this the hard way. Ooh. Yep, I guess just be careful, because it's a very hard run. We don't want to die 19 more times. And this here was also meant to be another hint, because it's the only save room with an opening in the ceiling, and like, you know, why would you do that? So I was hoping people might make the connection, or make a mental note, like, you know, what would be above there, and obviously it would be the sky base. And what would be the regular green place? Well, those pale green inside areas. These here are called burly goblins. It's the only enemy that is not in the manual. I don't know how I missed that. But they are in the end credits, so that's where you can get their official name from. If you're speedrunning and you time it right, you can actually jump over this guy. But it's really hard to do, so I obviously am not doing it. Ooh. Okay. Oh yeah, this room coming up was meant to be a surprise. People were probably expecting fireballs or something, but nope. 3 eye flies. And of course, coming up is a reason why you do not run into a room. Because if you drop down instantly, you get hit by the fireball. So we do a little backtracking here. There wasn't really a whole lot of backtracking in this game, I thought. We'll uncover Teleporter 2, so just so we have it for later. Yeah, that's another thing, the teleporters didn't come into play all that much. Kind of disappointing, but, you know, what can you do? And work our way down to the lower parts into the water. And water breathing mechanic, again, that didn't come into play a whole lot. Or rather, it didn't come into, like, a dangerous play, so to speak. There's like maybe only 1 or 2 parts of the game where it's kind of a factor. So That mechanic is also eliminated in Battle Kit 2. It's like Timmy's suit gets upgraded or something. I don't know. I'll come up with something. So here we go to the fortress. Now, I hope my memory is correct and I'm remembering the right speedrun. I think you can just run past these guys. I'm going to try it, and if I die, I'm going to feel so stupid. Oh, I don't feel stupid. Good. Oh yeah, this room. People, like, for some reason, didn't seem to notice this little opening on the floor. I never caught that either. So they tried, like, to get next to the guy to shoot him, which I guess you can do if you're perfect, but... I put a gap there to make it easier for you, so you wouldn't have to be perfect. Have this room. And of course to our right is what I call the portrait room, the entryway to the final area. We're going to uncover teleport point 4 there, so we don't have to go through this area later. And up here, everyone's favorite area, Hall of the Colormancers. The 3 symbols there are meant to kind of correspond to the projectiles that they shoot, although they're not the actual color of the wizards themselves. This room here, yeah. People seem to have trouble with that jump. You gotta be on that lower block, wait for him to almost hit you, and then get in there. Remember, this song was actually probably one of the very first ones I made for the game, too. I wrote the songs kind of out of order. I think I did this song, I did the Amethyst Caves song, the first area song, and then like the Fortress song. It was just really all over the place with the music. And then this gimmick, I don't even know how I came up with this. Here, I'm gonna wait. But it was there from pretty much the beginning. So when I mentioned earlier, I had done like a little draft of this area. I had this gimmick in there. Yeah, sorry that I'm delaying, but as I talk, I have to listen to the ticks. Okay. I remember some of these in the old draft of the game, they were a little bit further apart, so this area was a lot harder than what's in the final game here. So, if any of you thought this was hard, be happy you didn't see the beginning version of it. Okay. Orbitz Drones there. Their patterns is a lot more circular in Battle Kit 2. I just came up with kind of a sloppy method where, you know, certain amounts of values get added to the X and Y position for those, but in the second game I did it a lot more, did a little bit more math involved with it, so it looks more circular. And they can move at different speeds in the second game. That's kind of a thing I keep coming back to, is like talking about the second game, and you know, it's like learning experiences with this game. I just feel like in the learned a lot from this game, so I'm doing things I think a lot better the second time around. And this one kind of plays an eye trick on you with the 2 Orbitz Drones there. Of course, that's what I was going for. here. Yeah, I don't like killing that guy, so I always just jump past him. And here you just kind of want to hurry. And there we go, Sector 2, the only one without the disappearing spikes. And then Sector 3 here, this actually was my favorite of the color schemes that I came up with, so that's why I saved it for last. Remember this room, that little... Oh! That was bad. I didn't even see that. Alright, as I was saying, this room, this little block here on the left wasn't there and you used to have to drop straight down, and that was a lot harder than it sounds. And of course our final gauntlet here of the disappearing spikes. One thing that may comfort you to know is that these spikes are not back in Battle Kit 2 at all. Ooh, almost went too far to the right there. Oops. Kind of a trick up there in the top right to make you think you have to go up there, but you don't really have to do that. Alright, should be able to next time here. Alright, we'll drop down now. And of course, the fast room. This room, I think, was just a tiny bit faster in the old build too, and that was just too unreasonable. And coming up here, boss that I had envisioned way early on, the Color Master, Cleo. One thing I will say, if I was to do this game again, I would have come up with a second way for her to telegraph her attacks other than colors, and that was bad. Because I found out, like, a good chunk of people have some form of color blindness, and I didn't even know that when doing this. I mean, I obviously don't have problems, but if I had known that, I might would have had something like the tiles in the background flash when she changes to, you know, whatever color. The good old red diamonds. I think that was the first one I did for her too, that red diamond attack. It's so weird. And the good old star attack. I never got to see the lightning. Oh well. But yeah, once you get all the patterns down, it's not that bad, I think. So, you might notice I didn't save, because I don't need to, because there's a save point right over here. Another little speedrunner tip. And the feather, came up with that idea pretty much early on too. I like the idea of having that sort of floaty item. And that you combine it later with the double jump to get to certain areas. So here we go, our little shortcut now we now take. And save here. I don't think I've ever seen anyone take that shortcut with the feather that I did. They always seem to take the long way around, but you know, if you're playing it, then just be aware that that's there. Cyclops squids, another one-eyed enemy. I think that was yet another, it was another sprite that someone had drawn, and then it was redrawn, and then I liked the redrawing of it, so I implemented it in the game. And remember, this ceiling was one row lower. It was just so hard to get by the snail, so that was one thing towards the end of the game, just modifying the rooms so that they weren't as ridiculous like that. I remember this whole passage used to be a lot harder in general. Like some of these jumps coming up here were longer, or the platforms were smaller. So, oops. Please die. Thank you. And yeah, this room, these little columns here are 1 unit higher. This was also 1 unit wider, too. Ooh. And this here, I probably would have done this differently, too, and or I should have done this differently, just because, you know, yeah, it's sort of doing that feather gimmick, but I don't know, I guess I didn't like that you had to kind of immediately respond to the room. But once you know it's there, it's not a problem. These, you actually don't have to trigger them. If you jump just enough to the left of the block, you can kill them that way. Makes the room a little safer. Okay. And we're not going to bother killing these guys. Clams. I wish those clam shots looked a little more parabolic than they do. They kind of look sloppy, but oh well. Oh, this here, coming up here, this was another room that I definitely would have put some blocks under those spikes there on the left, so you don't jump into the room and hit your head on them. It's one of those oversights I had, because I was so used to it, and then I see people playing it, and like almost everyone I've seen playing this game dies in that room the first time because of that. So, sorry about the oversight, people. Alright, coming up here is the Waterfall Temple. It is not called the Flooded Spire. That is the song name, not the area name. And our good old frogs. The only enemy that kind of moves up and down, really. Well, moves up and down and interacts with the walls, I should say. Yeah, oop. There we go. Yeah, this was, I think, yeah, it was the very first area that I had planned for the game. I wanted some kind of waterfall area. If you look at my oldest demo video, you can see it with it doesn't have these bricks, but it has rocks. And a lot of the rooms there aren't even in the final game. So there we go. I think this is probably the second hardest area of the game. All of the Color Mancers is probably the hardest. Or at least that's how it comes off to most, when I see most people playing it. These guys also used to move a little bit faster. Rather, they didn't have that warm-up time, they just sort of moved at their fastest speed right from the get-go. And it was just a little too easy to get hit by some of them, so that's why I added that little warm-up. And then this final room, I'm going to do this kind of the wimpy way, but it's very hard. I only have, I think, 17, or maybe it was 16 now, I can't remember. Some people might have missed the Spike Crusher over there. I don't know. This room, I think some people struggled with. That's the trick to it. You just gotta kill the one frog and let the other one come over. Oh yeah, this one I think some people do the hard way too. Like they try to get the Spike Crusher and then try to jump on the blocks when you don't have to do that. Alright. Oops, we gotta get that guy to wake up. Come on. Thank you. Oops. Alright, final room. That one little step there, it used to be all the way up and it was so hard to dodge those two things, so gave you a little more room. And here we go, boss number 4 coming up, called Nagakonda. This was the only boss that was not an idea of mine at all. Dave, he just drew up this guy and looked cool, so we wound up using it. I mean, I didn't even really have any plans for what this guy would even do. Not like some of the other bosses like Cleo or, you know, the Amethyst Angel. I was like, well, I guess we have to come up with something. His eye shots, too, used to come out differently. It's sort of a really weird-looking pattern. But I ultimately changed it to sort of be like an arc up and then an arc down. The little eel that comes out of the hole there does not have any official name. But he's not really that big of a danger anyway, so... So again, not saving, going back to save, since there's a save right here. Mini speedrunner tip, as always. So we gotta work our way back down the temple. Though thankfully going down is a lot easier than going up. One thing I really hope that players didn't try was to go this way first, like before killing Nagakonda, because it's, you know, the way back. But I was hoping they would, you know, instinctively think, you know, it's a waterfall, I should climb the waterfall, not check out that little side room. So now we're finally gonna get to use a teleporter. You actually can walk back this way, and originally I was gonna have it so you would have to walk back, but the walking back was just, it was hard to go backwards through that whole underwater passage, and I wanted to give players a break. But I did make sure it was doable, only to have it thwarted by the teleporter. And coming up here is our quest to go get key number 2. And I will say, I think this whole thing was kind of lame. It's obviously, you know, meant to waste your time so you run out of air. It was what I came up with, and it works, but... And it's only one part of the game anyway, but still, I probably could have done something a little bit more creative than this, but oh well. it's not even dangerous, so... Yeah, I know, this is not exciting, but once it's done, it's done. And I think right about here is where you'd run out of air if you tried to get the key normally. Could have probably shortened it by a screen to make it so you get the key, but you can't escape the water. That might have been a little funnier, but oh well. I just wanted to make it very obvious, you know, don't go this way. Seek out the upgrade first. So now that water's not a problem, I can waste as much time as I want. So we work our way over to next area, the subterranean sea. And I'm going to play it safe and go up and use the save point over here. Yeah, it's only 2 rooms of enemies, but I do sometimes mess it up, so... Oops. There we go. And I do sort of taunt players with the exit to the Amethyst Caves there. So, okay. Remember, this was probably one of the last themes I wrote for the game, this subterranean sea area. Wanted something a little calmer, but that's what I came up with. And of course, zigzag Xanders is what they're called. My little, kind of like the Medusa heads from Castlevania games. This is the room, when I mentioned earlier, when I had done my longest playthrough without dying, this is the room where I died. I just dropped down too early and landed on one of the fish, the Xanders. Couldn't believe I did that, because I probably would have gone a lot farther too. Okay. This room used to have 2 clams side by side, and the gimmick you had to do was sort of turn them around like that, or turn one of them around, because every time it turns around it delays the shots by a frame, so eventually one would fall behind the other. And I just didn't think it was something that players would have figured out easily on their, first try. And plus it was the last room, and I wanted players to get to the save point, so... The overall look of this area was kind of inspired from Meridia from Super Metroid, with the sand and the plants, and later... Oh! I can't believe I did that. Anyway, as I was saying... I can't believe I did that. Alright. Get back up so you can fall back down. Another thing, these guys aren't animated, these starfish. ran out of tiles, and I didn't want to have to load in more tiles just for that. So, yeah, it's kind of sloppy, but that's how it is. The zigzag danders are also not animated. They do return in Battle Kit 2, and they are animated though. So, at least I did it right the second time. Sector 3 here. This is where what I was going to mention earlier, the inspiration of Meridia with the pinkish purplish pipes there. And here are, other than the eye fly, the only enemy that's wider than 16 pixels, these big fish. I guess the squids are also taller. Yeah, but for the most part, every enemy is 16 by 16. Okay. Yeah, this room. I think there was a speedrun way to do this room, but I couldn't remember it, so just did the safe way there. This was also a lot harder, too. I think that clam was up a little higher, and it was just so much harder to get away from his shots. So I made it so you had those safe spots. And boss number 5, which many people probably consider to be the lamest boss of the game, the Seahorse Turrets. But it did give me an excuse to have aiming bullets, finally. What I generally like to do is to get them all be cracked before taking them down. I like to clear out the right side first for some reason. There we go. That's one other thing about this boss. Always kill a side first. Don't kill one on opposite sides, because it's so much harder to dodge the bullets when one's coming from the left and one's coming from the right. Especially with the bullet speed-ups. It's also the only boss in the game that sort of has a pissy boss mode. When you start killing him off, the shots get faster. Alright, so we got our double jump now, finally. And I'm just going to kill this guy, make this a little less annoying to get back. Take 15 shots. Alright, we are almost home free. And now we are. Yeah, sorry I'm not talking much. Oh, here we go. This room, I didn't mention it the first time, but I made those plants to kind of mess with your eyes there, to be the same color with the spikes. Just because I'm a nice guy. Alright. Oops. There we go. Yeah, you do this, okay. Just gonna skip the save point, because there's another one easily accessible on the exits. Yeah, and I did give you that little shortcut so you don't have to go back through the first sector of that. I'm not even sure if you can go back through the first sector. You probably can, but just use the shortcut. head to our final section here, the Amethyst Caves, which oddly enough we had graphics for like really early in the game, and it just sort of sat on hold for a while until I finally got to the area, so it was nice to finally utilize these graphics. Same thing with the music too. I mentioned I wrote this as one of the early songs of the game. That's the last of the enemies of the game, the Gem Bomb. The only enemy that does something to you when it dies. One little piece of trivia. The eye guys appear in every area of the game, except for the subterranean sea. Alright. One thing I see people sometimes do here is they don't stop on the blue block, they try to go all the way, and I guess you can do it because people have done it, but it's just safer to stop. So here we go. The little block I just pressed up against did used to be there. You had to move right and then stop so you don't hit the spikes, and too many times I hit the spikes, so I put that block in there. One thing I hope people didn't think that there was ice in the game, since these are blue and they kind of look like ice blocks, but I couldn't come up with a good way to make ice, but I like that color blue with those, so there you go. I kind of did want to have ice blocks in the game, but couldn't think of a good way to do it, so they ultimately got left out. This room was kind of an I want to be the guy moment with that little wall there. Wonder if people actually went for it and then they saw the wall. But I didn't want to have, you know, too many of those in the game. So here we go, Amethyst Angel. Boss number 6. One thing with whenever she's up in the air, you want to make sure you're in the air before the attack starts, so that way you can dodge the one attack with the three low and 3 high. This one, yeah, right here. So you can't wait for it, you have to be up in the air to dodge it. There is no really telegraphing of the attacks, it just does one of 2 random ones based on whether she's up high or down low. But I remember on someone's Let's Play, they mentioned the hand position might have been a good way to do it, but I ultimately didn't think of that at the time, so. And then right here is a little cutscene. It's kind of an awkward delivery of the line, but basically I wanted to tell players, you know, hey, check the terminal, you can get a hint about something hidden. So. Alright. So now that we've pretty much done everything we need to do here, just got to get the 4th key and get to the final area. As I said earlier, I'm not going to run the Gauntlet of Evil. It's a very hard run, I do not want to risk it. Because that hidden area can end very hard runs very easily. So, able to show this. What I was hoping is people would take that statement very literally, the sky's above, since the key is right above us, and not try to go to the sky area, but I think some people did do that. I am pleased, though, that people did figure it out. Quite a few. Oops. And there we go. I don't know why I did the final area graphics for this little room here. Just felt like something different to do. I guess I'll bring up this hint too, since I mentioned it earlier. I explained it earlier in the sky base though. You know, the illusion and the irregular green place, so hopefully I gave people enough hints. So we're going to final area now. Going back. Although even if you drop down here, there's still no going back, but whatever. The only reason I did that was because if you were to die and actually re-enter that room from the side there, it would play that sequence again. I didn't want to make a special exception just for that, so I just made it so it was impossible to go in there again. And wow. Well, 15 to go. I'm pretty sure I will do it though. Final area has a little bit of everything, as always. That was actually one thing I had to make sure to do to utilize every enemy at least once in the final area. There's our second appearance of the limes, as I mentioned earlier, second and last. This room, make you float a little in between them. I think this is probably the sector most people tend to hate because it's, you know, the Colormancer gimmick back here. I also originally had it so they didn't have these blocks, but actually that sort of pipe texture that you see in the outside areas of this. And the main problem with that is you couldn't count how many blocks over you had to go. Like, you couldn't position yourself between lines like this. And I kept playing it, I'm like, oh geez, that's bad, so I had to do it this way. Alright. Yeah, that one there with the floating, you have to do that. I pretty much don't even listen to the ticking in this room, but rather just the appear and disappear sounds. Okay, and kind of an easy room here. Whoa, almost didn't dodge that. If you have the damage amp, you can kill that second one, but I do not. Alright, Sector 2's done. Whoa. There we go. Ah. Alright, you know what? We'll do it the plain way. Yeah, you can get up and kill that one squid, which I was trying to do, but didn't happen. Another thing, those fish there, I probably should have chosen a different color than blue, since I hate it when enemies are the same color as the background, or very similar colors to the background. Alright. Yeah, this room was kind of a tricky one. You had to kill middle top, then middle bottom, then top to get through it. Oh, not kill, but deflate, I guess you would say. And coming up here, I think everybody has a WTF moment at. But you kind of see it coming, since the nonogram is upside down there, indicating, you know, this is a bad save point. So, you also can go back through this portal. I kind of just put that in there as sort of a joke, like maybe people would think, oh, hey, maybe it'll give them back to me, but no, it doesn't. So, we gotta seek out our items. This here is probably the only part where the water breathing is kind of a big deal, because when you're going to get your infinite oxygen item back, because you do have to hurry. Wait for 2 of those. And that's safe. Yeah, here, just walk right up to him. Don't try to do it from the center. I think I've seen some people trying to do that. You don't want to do that. And our good old clam again. Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. Actually, that's not even a hard room. Well, I guess it's tricky, but not hard. So, yep. Wait for the 2 waves there, and then go. Okay, now for real this time. There we go. Yeah, the timer's running down there. Alright. Now I will say we're going for the high jump now, and this is another speedrunner's tip that I'll give you. You can actually skip the infinite oxygen item if you want. To. You have to, though, go fast in one of these rooms here. And it's hard to do, so I don't recommend doing it unless you really think you can do it. But basically, you can jump to the next block. You don't have to do it like I'm doing here. This is obviously the safe way to do it, but takes more time. And you also have to do that, you know, going in and going out. And even still, I mean, you gotta hurry on the rest of it too. Whenever I tried doing it, I think I got out of the water with like 2 seconds left, so. Only do it if you really want a speed break. Or sequence break, not speed break. That was one thing I mentioned in this room. I hope that players got the picked up on the, you know, do 1 and then 2 with the key blocks there. Hope that was a good enough hint for people. Oops, yeah, this room. Okay. Alright, we are home free. And plus, with the loss of items, you got to experience underwater without the high jump. That's proof that there are, in fact, mechanics for it. And I can't seem to hit the blob there. There you go. Yeah, I had no idea how I would bring the fans back into play, you know, if you had all your inventory, so that's kind of worked out with the stealing of it. And another thing you get to experience is double jump without the feather. Let's see, yep. Oh yeah, I wish the fireballs were animated too, but, you know, just like with the starfish, ran out of tile space to do it. This room is fun. I think that gap used to be a little wider too, so just made it a little tricky to jump across without the feather. So this here is probably the hardest item to get back, I think. Yeah, definitely speed run past the frogs there. You don't want to try fighting them. It's just trick too hard. This is probably the safest way to do it, because once he's turned around, he can't do anything to you. Alright. And I had to put this little thing here because it is impossible to go back that way, you know, from the right to left there. Featherfall reacquired, yay. Wow, I'm really whacked out paranoid here. There we go. Also, don't rush over there, because their shots will get you. Let's see, okay, this room. And once again, just do this, get out of here quickly. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna just kill it just to be safe. Alright. now we're going down to pretty much the end of the game. I was hoping people got paranoid with the dark room again, but the save point is the correct way that way time. So, alright, boss number 7, Zed, the Time Mage. Another idea that I had early on. Although the final look of him was just... oh no. Oh. The final look of him was a little bit different from what I originally envisioned, but I like how this came out more. Like originally, we were going to do something like have him have hair like from Chrono Trigger, and it just looks so stupid, so we ditched that idea and went with, you know, the purple skinned man with 3 horns on his head. Coming up with these attacks was pretty fun too. Oh yeah, and that inversion of the colors when he stops time was something I had in the game pretty early on. I just made like a little table to do it, and it was pretty easy to do, so finally got to use it when we got up to this boss. And there's our bad guy again. Impossible! Really wish there could have been more interaction with the antagonists in the game, but it just never worked out. I mean, I literally made the game all the way up to pretty much this before I started actually doing any kind of story. This here, I originally wanted to have like a really big nonogram for the final save point, but I don't know, I guess I just didn't want to draw it, or maybe there wasn't enough space to do it, so I just came up with this to kind of look a little glorious. But anyway, we're going to go in and fight the final boss, Supermech TY52414ET. And yes, there's a significance to the serial number. And I just died because I got the timing wrong. Alright. Anyway, the serial number, the 52, the 41, and the 4E are ASCII codes for capital R, capital A, and capital N. So, when you put those back into place, it becomes TYRANT, Tyrant. And that's also why the song is called Tyrannical Machine. So that's what he's, you know, what he's supposed to be, the Tyrant Supermech. I kind of wonder how this might have played out if we had done the original draft where he would be in the center of the screen instead of like this, but the main problem with that design is it was just too many tiles. It couldn't be drawn. I also wonder how many people got caught up by those lasers and just said, "Hey, that's not fair." But, you know, it's just a one-time thing. Once you see it the first time, you know what to expect. He takes 75 shots. The original draft took 90. I couldn't believe that I was thinking of doing that too, but yeah, I downscaled that, obviously. So, there you have it, folks. I beat the game. I think it was 9 deaths. Hope someone's keeping track. So all we have left to do is walk to the ending. Oh yeah, control is taken away briefly because actually if you walk back into the room, you would have to fight the Supermech again, because I never officially flagged that boss as dead. So that's why I force you to go down that hole, so it's impossible to go back in. And now this ending here, before I go to it, I will say I probably could have implemented this a little better. One thing I had thought of naturally after the game was out was maybe have it so you fight Zed a little earlier, then have the item loss, and then you get to some kind of situation where, you know, the bad guys see you coming and they try to get away, but if you have the key 4, you can finally take that shortcut, and then you stop them before they can get away with the Supermech, and then that could have probably played out a little bit better, but oh well. This is what I came up with. You just get here after the super mech, and they're trying to get away, but you thwart them before he can get on board the ship, and the ship just leaves without him. So our bad guy here is named Chester, or Chet Donovan. And he does kind of look a little like Timmy. We were gonna, I think at one point, have it be his evil brother, but no, they're no relation. He's also the shortest of the group, even though the cutscenes would have you believe he's the biggest. I think the only time Timmy can touch something and not die. There's Dish Corp again. That dome on top of the building was actually going to be something that opened up and you would have seen Timmy's ship take off from it, but never happened at the beginning. I guess I just didn't want to draw it. But, yep, here's our ending where he captures Mr. Chester Donovan and brings him in for interrogation so we can find out the whereabouts of his other two people. Those little dashes and dots on the screen there actually spell out Chet Donovan in Morse code. Yeah, this ending, I wanted to have it be in such a way that if I did not decide to do the sequel, it could have, ended in a way that, it's just sort of alluded to, but maybe, maybe he never talks, and then, that's it for the game. But, I pretty much knew I wanted to do a sequel. I really wanted to, because it's just so much fun to make these games. This ending also took quite a while to actually get graphics for. Like that last thing there, that was the very last thing I got graphically for the game, and it was actually drawn by someone else, then I sort of touched it up because Dave was so busy at the time. So there you have it, good ending, and this is also exclusive to the good ending, the roll call of the enemies. And the music here is actually sort of a remix of the bad guys theme that you hear throughout the various parts of the game, like cutscenes and the final battle have it. And the show off with Chet also has a version of it. But this is meant to be a happier, more upbeat version of it. And I also do reuse the bad guy theme in the second game a couple times. Lotus Guardian without his leaves. I remember this roll call probably took like a day just to get all these to be drawn correctly. Thankfully, I was able to reuse some code, like with the drawing of the sprites in the game. And there he is with his serial number, Tyrant. Alright, and there we go, all my responsibilities, and then shared responsibilities. Big thanks to Dave for those graphics, man. You were awesome. And Larry there. And I remember in the prototype version it didn't have any credit for the label, it just said nobody. Oh yeah, and Screw Attack, they were added after in version 1.1, because in 1.0 I had the game done and I didn't want to mod it, but they did all that promotion for it. So, a big thanks to you guys for your support. Alright, and our passwords here. First one is read as Petunia X, not Petuniax, Petunia X. The good old evil level, which does things that I would never do in the regular game. And then, of course, Champion and BK1 music. So, alright everybody, I just want to say I had a lot of fun making this game. I'm glad that you listened to my commentary. I think it's been just over an hour doing this. And I'm really looking forward to bringing Battle Kid 2 out. It's, so much fun making these games, and seeing all the support you've given me just, keeps driving me forward. So, thank you very much, everybody, and thanks for watching.